Zen Stoic Sati. There we go. That's one
Mr.
of the
T.
coolest. Yeah, that's one of the coolest Instagram handles. So you guys already know. You can check them out there. We'll start with that. Usually we all save it to the end, but now we have you here at the beginning. Dude, me and you've been rolling for 5 months training. I think 5.5 or 5. I think 5, almost on the dot, something like that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. It's been amazing working with you. You've grown a lot, man. You're making money now. So this is just a space for us to talk about your journey, where you came from, look at some of the sales space overall, what some of your advice is to people coming in. We'll share some sauce, some insights on objection handling, leadership, what you've learned, how to get better. And we'll go from there, man. So tell us, who are you? What do you do? Tell us about your entry into sales and kind of how it all began for you, the basics.
Yeah, man. So I've been in the online game for just over a year now, and came in not knowing that I was going to start closing, moving to the high ticket space. I was just like, I just want to make money online, make as much money as I can, and enjoy obviously life and the location freedom that has to offer. The ball started rolling one way, and then I found myself just like closing full time. And then my skill set wasn't at a point where I was bringing in, cash. I wasn't able to live the life that I want and give back to the people that I love. So it made the most amount of sense for me. So if I'm sitting on a call where I'm getting people to invest thousands of dollars into changing their lives, it just made sense for me to do the same for myself. So I can build a skill set that's vicious, that I can get out there, I can close deals, bring in money for the company, give myself financial freedom, and help get others help get them results as well. So that's when I invested with Quantum, and we're here 6 months later, and now it's a complete 180 from where I was.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Let's dive into kind of where you were at. So when you got into sales, I think you started off on a pretty decent offer, but the volume wasn't amazing, I think. And you were experiencing some blocks skill set wise. What were some of the big challenges that you faced coming into the sales space? Like in terms of skill set, in terms of bottlenecks, just like what would you feel was the big things holding you back as a sales pro?
It was just leadership, man. It was like
Mm,
getting on calls and not being in like a mindset or a frame where like I'm here to just have a happy, jolly conversation with this person. I'm here to actually help them make a change so they can draw a line in the sand and create better outcomes for themselves on after the call. So I think that was the biggest shift that happened for me is like I'm on this call to serve in a way, but also to help navigate people's lives. Because if they hop off the call and just keep doing what they're doing,
mm-hmm,
I'm not doing my job properly, and I'm actually letting them. I'm cutting them short of the service I'm supposed to provide.
mm-hmm,
So obviously the protocols and the skill set and everything else came later, but that first shift that happened when we had our onboarding call was
mm-hmm,
exciting. You have to be someone that is a leader.
mm-hmm.
Once I implemented that, it was just it was so much easier actually getting on the calls and
Yeah.
closing up.
Yeah, for sure. Why did you get into remote sales? Because I think you had to pivot, right? You were doing car sales before, and then you pivoted into remote. What was the driving factor behind you getting into space?
Remote freedom,
Mm,
remote freedom, and then getting on an offer that you actually stand behind. Like when you're selling a product or service, no matter what it is, first and foremost, you have to be genuinely aligned with what you're actually helping people achieve. Yeah, cool, car sales was good, the money was there, but driving to work, being stuck there hours on end, and then like just pedaling cars off a lot just didn't
you were
fulfill me.
actually one of those guys in the lot.
Well, yeah, like it's car sales, right? Like you
Yeah.
you always
I
get
don't I don't
leads.
know that side of you. I only know the side of you who's hanging out on Zoom and we're like doing objections. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't
Well, when
imagine you
someone's
in
in
a
the
lot with
parking lot, you
cars.
got to approach them and like, hey,
Yeah, yeah,
what
that's
are you looking
wild.
for? Boom, 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 bring them in.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it capped off at a certain point. I was just like, I don't see myself doing this for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Pretty much cut the line there. Took some time off to reset and really got clear on what my outcomes were, what I wanted life to look and feel like. Pen to
Mm,
paper journaled, and it's made so much sense going into sales, which I already
mm-hmm.
experienced with, but going into something that's remote,
Yeah,
where I can work from pretty much anywhere
yeah.
and network with people that are already in my position.
Uh-huh.
So that's when the ball started rolling forward, and that was that time where I was like, okay, well, this is what I want to do.
Huge. Amazing. You said a second ago, I know before you actually started working with me, one of the things that I loved about your drive was like giving back. Some people, I think, like to use the word giving back casually. Like they're kind of, and I don't ding them for it, but there's kind of two paths, right? It's like freedom for myself, get out the 9 to 5, etc. Or the other drivers like give back, mom, dad, family, give back, right? And for you, I thought something that was really cool when we first talked on that session we had in the free group, was you really had a driver behind your why, which and a big piece of it, maybe not all of it, I'm sure some of it is you living an amazing life as evidenced by the balcony and sick apartment in there, but the other big part of the driver was like, give back to my family, like give back to the parents, give back to people in my life. So tell me more about that driver kind of that's been pushing you forward to become excellent, which I think you are excellent and talented now in this space. What was the driver there for you?
So it always boils down to freedom for me.
Mm.
It's it's simple for me because my parents gave me everything to be successful. Obviously, I went down the traditional route, got my degree, went down the corporate route, didn't pan out the way I wanted. And then it just clicked to me. If I kept doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to be able to give myself freedom. I'm not going to be fulfilled with the life I live. But also looking at my mother and father working day in, day out since I was born in Canada, but they immigrated over from India.
Mm.
My dad, day in, day out, put his blood, sweat, and tears into building a life for us so that we can obviously have the lives that we want. But when I saw my father and the life that I want him to have for himself, he's not able to live at this current time or even in the past because of the things he was doing. So that's what energized me. That's what's become my fuel every day I get out of bed in the morning. And then I look at the roof and I'm like, cool. It's not only about me. Yes, it is like cool. I have nice things. I have flexibility now. But above and beyond that, I want to give people in my life freedom. I want them to be able to also live the lives that they want.
Mhm.
And as an older son, I'm the oldest son in my family. And I feel like it's my duty and my responsibility to actually create better outcomes for ourselves and
Mm.
just keep building on obviously the foundation my father's built out, but create even more abundance and more freedom and flexibility for ourselves. And it's my duty to do that. And that's what fuels me and inspires me every day. I get up and get on a call. Cool, yeah, I'm here to close. I'm here to bring in money for the company, but also my skin's in the game. I'm here to help my father retire. I'm here to build out a business that's going to be multi six figures and obviously going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing right now. So I think that's what really became my why. And when you can stand behind that, man, your life becomes like like a video game. It's like, cool,
Mm.
I'm going into this character every day. I'm evolving into that man that I need to become so that I can create those outcomes for myself. And day in, day out, that's just become my mantra. And that's just what I live by now.
Incredible. I love it, dude. That's awesome. That's real shit. Let's get a little bit technical. So you've been on this journey. We've been training together. Was I the first sales coach you invested in, by the way? First
Officially
sales
invested,
trainer?
yeah. And obviously before
Okay.
that I was like dabbling in free stuff, but
Okay, sure. But I was the first okay, proper invest in the program. Okay, cool. Talk to me about this journey you're on. So right now, you're on a six-figure pace, actually a little bit beyond that, because you're right at that 10K mark in Canadian dollars, more past 10K. So you're at a six-figure plus mark now, which is great in terms of track on to hit that for the last, I think 2-3 months. You've been around there, the 8 to 10 thing now. Good, awesome. And we're talking USD, so again, Canadian is more. We can go with that. Um, so talk to me about the journey in terms of numbers, in terms of commissions, in terms of the income increase. What was the skill set progression for you from where you were when you got in to then where you are now in terms of what we focused on, what we trained on? What were some of those steps along the way that helped boost the skill set and then boost the income? What were some of what was that path like? And we'll start with that. We'll go technical.
yeah. So before I came into quantum here, I was maybe doing 2, maybe 4K.
Mm.
Um, Obviously it was broken down in like triaging, occasional sales calls, some setting. And then my income didn't really blow up until I got a solid offer, first and foremost, which I'm grateful for Quantum, which I found through the platform as well. And secondly, the skill set was there's objections, man. How we just metal to metal, man. With iron sharpens iron type thing. It's just like coming in, going to battle. And like first thing I did when I came in was I went through all of first and foremost the free stuff because I just sat there like for 3 days, like almost just like me and the computer, just like scripting everything out, writing everything down, and just like meditating on it, studying it every single morning. I
You
just
did this with
immersed
the free
myself.
stuff before you got in the paid program?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
never
just
knew that. I didn't know you did that.
the objection handling manifesto that I made. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, I just studied the shit out of it.
Yeah.
what happened was I was like, okay, man, I'm getting results with this. I started closing in with your free stuff. I got on calls. I was handling people's objections. I was more confident. I was more assertive and had that leadership thing, maintaining it. But it wasn't until I actually got into pro where my skill was put to the test. When I was role playing 2 to 4 times a day, I was doing call reviews throughout the whole week. It was just like sales, sales, sales. Even I was even dreaming in sales. Like you talked about you had immersion phase as well, but I was enjoying that, man. I just felt in my gut like this is gonna pay off. Like it's just like I'm putting in the reps right now. And even though I wasn't making more than 2 to 4K at that time, obviously I'm big into manifestation and all that aside. But yeah, offer came into my life, and then I got on the offer and just started closing. Boom, boom, boom. But that's what it was, man. Just the protocols and sticking to them, and just studying them day in, day out, building on the foundation of it, and then coming to the calls, man. Like fuck, I don't know any other program that offers like 5 or even 6 calls per week where we get to hop on with you, ask you questions, and you give us like critique and feedback specific, and you hold nothing back. It's like, bro, you're good at this, but man, this is something we're gonna improve on. I take that, write it down, I implement to my next call. I close, boom, boom, boom. And it's kept building off of that momentum.
Amazing. I want to talk about the offer you're on now, because I think something that was really cool and something I actually talked about in some YouTube videos using you as a case study, because you were inside of Pro. For those of you who don't know, our program is called Quantum Level Pro. So when we say Pro, we're referring to Pro. It stands for protocols in our paid program. When you were in Pro, you, after I think it was like 2 months in, 2.5, something like that, you jumped on this offer now that you're running. I know you're offer stacking, so you're doing like 1.5 offers, or maybe the other one seems like it's
Yeah,
bumped up
doing
volume.
two already.
Okay, cool. So you were on your primary offer and you went through kind of a pain period with your ramp up where there was a lot of struggle. There was like a lot of, and what's interesting is you knew all the material because we've been training already for 2.5 months, and you started to see some like growth and spikes, but the volume had been low. So you got an offer where there was high volume, and you had a kind of a struggle period, a ramp up. And then you and I did, I think it was about like a 72-hour back and forth deep dive, maybe 1 or 2 one-on-one calls in there. We did some audios back and forth. I looked at 2 of your stuff. I think you remember it was like really like intense for those 3 days. And then you came out of that and just started smashing it. Like in your close rate increased. Quick question before I get to the main one. All right, because I know there's another closer on the offer. Are you now kind of the top one? Like, are you good with numbers now? If you surpassed that guy on in terms of numbers on the offer, the main one?
Yes. Both, like he's a good closer.
Yeah,
Well,
he's great. And we're not saying the name of the offer, by the way. So, but
and but the way that the way I see it, I watched both calls back. I watched mine,
yeah,
and
sure.
so the way that I've built my skill set now is like
Uh-huh.
I don't get
Uh-huh.
right. It's like three
Yeah.
things at the end of the call that it's gonna be a yes or a no,
Yeah.
or no, right?
Uh-huh.
And all respect to him, he's doing really good. But the way I get on these calls now is like that's 3 things I want, and that's just like something I abide by now. Like even on the call before this, we're talking about this, but it's just like I stick to protocols. Obviously, there's a lot more sauce than like we talk about around playing around with it. But yeah, like I'm confident in my skill set now, man, and I can say that it's at a point where I can even build upon this. Right, like
Mm.
last month, my closing rate was just around like 44%. Obviously, with much lower volume, um, and that's just like a great testament to even like when you have not as many calls on your calendar, you can still bring deals over the line, obviously with follow-ups to everything else. But just pushing to the absolute limit is super important. And that's what I'm at the point now. And when we had that little phase where I was like, wasn't bringing in deals, I wasn't pushing hard enough. And you critiqued me, you gave me some tough love, and I needed that. He's like, hey, bro, you've trained hard enough for this. Now don't leave yourself short. Push harder, push a little, push harder, and bring in more deals. And when I took that and ran with it, bro, after that, I just 3 months later, after a couple 8 to 10K months, it all worked out just because I actually did what you said in that specific situation.
Huge. I love it. We got to start using the Canadian dollar. You got to start saying Canadian, man. 12K months. Okay. Let's bump that number. I love it. Dude, that's awesome. And also when I close Canadian prospects, it's always works the opposite way because I say the numbers in US dollars and they're like, that's Canadian. In Canadian would be more. I'm like, it depends on how you look at it. We can
Yeah.
I love it, dude. Okay. I wanna still one more thing on this kind of period we had where you built. What would you say? Because I want to go a little deeper in terms of that, like if you came out on top and now you're smashing it to the point where you're even giving advice and kind of guiding and coaching guys in our program now, like the guys who are coming in who are learning, you're really pouring into them and they're super grateful. They tell me about how you've been helping them. What would you say was the biggest, I guess, skill set or even mindset shift? I know you mentioned pushing, but I want to hear more about it after kind of we went through that intense training period in that specific period of time that led to you leveling up. What was the biggest focus for you coming out of that training, and what was the key that opened everything for you from that period we went through together?
The vision, man.
Mm.
It all ties back to the why. Cool, yeah, I'm on these calls. I'm here to help them make a change, but ultimately the company's gonna get paid. But what about myself? You know? So obviously I have my vision. I read it every day. I have it behind me right here. And it's like I'm on this call to do what I have to do here to achieve that. And that alignment when it happened, it just made it so much easier for me to actually get on calls and have fun too while doing it, which in the last 2 months I've actually learned how to do is make it more enjoyable for me for the prospect, adding obviously a lot more sauce into it, but just staying accountable to myself, man, and looking at my vision and what I need to, the outcomes I want to create for myself in my life. I have to abide by those protocols to make sure I actually close those deals. And I think that's where it just lined up perfectly. It's like I need to do X, Y, and Z to achieve X, Y, and Z, and not forgetting the fundamentals, right? Obviously sticking to protocols, getting the pain, getting the desire, getting the commitment, and by just following the basics and fundamentals, I was able to just close more deals and bring in more cash for the company first and foremost. Like when I hit 100K cash collected for the company, it was a good feeling, like seeing those numbers on the Excel sheet, but also seeing the numbers that I took away in comms. So I think those two things attached, and they just like helped me realize, cool, like I can close, but then obviously the freedom and the abundance started coming into my life, and everything around me started changing as well. And it's just crazy how fast life can change. Like it's only been 5.5 months since I've been with Pro. Like we always talk about building on this and growing and expanding, and that's why I pour into others and pour into students and other people that want to crush it too. Because there's nothing here that I've achieved that other people can't achieve. It's just about putting in the work, getting really, really good, building a fucking vicious skill set, getting on an offer, and just bringing money in. It's really as simple as that.
Huge. I love it, dude. That's a perfect segue into this idea. I want to talk about protocols and like the program itself. So the reason I named it protocols is because I feel, tell me your thoughts on this, and a kind of a bigger question tied to it. I feel like there's a right way to do things. You know, my past, I was a dating coach for a long time. And one of the things I found in the dating space is that there's like wrong ways to do things and right way. And within the right way is the most efficient way to get to a certain outcome. You want to get more dates, there's an efficient way to make that happen within the bounds of being ethical, of course. And I feel the same thing in sales. So you've been around the sales space for a minute. You've seen a lot of the top people that I respect and look up to as well, people that I think are amazing and great that I've learned from. So not putting anyone down at all. What do you feel is different about the way that we train, the way that the protocols program is constructed, the way that it's kind of done and ran, that is different? I won't even say more valuable or less. I won't put a quantity on it, but just that's different and that might align with sales pros, including yourself going forward. That's a little different than how other people do it. What stood out to you? Because you rolled with us for a while. So there's something you found there, of course, in terms of results. Also, you got results. What is it about our program that you think does that well? And what's the difference between what maybe is as out there in the industry?
First and foremost, man, it's just attention to detail.
Mm.
Like even now, when I hop on the calls on Pro, man, in like 15, 20 minutes, my whole page in my notebook can be filled out here. So when we like study like logic, right? Like when the prospect's logic's incongruent with the decisions they want to make and the life they want to achieve, how do we handle that? You know, other programs, like obviously I've looked into other things. I've also trained with other people in the space as well. They don't pay attention to that much. And that's where I think the biggest difference is just like focusing on what needs to be focused on. There's no fluff, right? Even like the sales call script that we use, within 20 minutes, I can hit every single checkpoint that I need. Maximum 25 minutes. Then I have, my time to pitch. There's there's no way my call can run over like 45 minutes to an hour. Obviously, it's running over that. At one point, it was, and we critiqued that and fixed that.
Man was running 90-minute calls a while
Man,
ago.
yeah. If you want to push volume, if you want to bring in money, and if you want to do it the right way, it's making sure that there's no fluffing in your process. Right? We only need a certain amount of things on a sales call. We don't need to shoot the shit about left, right, and center with the prospects. Right? We need to go into the basics, figure out why they're there, what's not working, what does life look and feel like when they do achieve that, what does it feel like if they don't? Are they committed to making a change? Boom. And then the pitching, man, holy. So my pitch was very, very simple before that. Right? It was just like three fundamentals, boom, boom, boom. Here you go. It's the price. But when we started helping me paint the dream for our prospects, like actually putting them in the position like, oh, the 10K is here. Now what? Right? Like, what does this do for you and your family? And painting that vision and that reality for them. You know, obviously tying everything back to the end goal they're trying to achieve. And the way that obviously you've obviously put a lot of time and energy and studying what sales is, but I was able to just like get the proximity effect from that. Just like learn from your, years of experience in the sales space and just bring it into my sales calls. And every time I pitch, it's a no-brainer for them. It's just like, this is exactly what I need. So discovery and the pitching going hand in hand. Like now I'm at a point where I'm getting less and less objections even on the call.
Nice.
Like this is exactly what I need. We've already dug into everything in discovery. Cool. Do you want to do this? Yes. Boom. Let's bring you in. I think two things going hand in hand. It's hard not to fail, man, when you have the right protocols to do this.
For sure. It's huge. I think one other thing, I love that you said that about the pitch, because that's one of the things I've put the most effort into this program. I think is different than a lot of the other ones I've seen, specifically is how we pitch. It's very, very different than what's in the sales space. And the reason it's actually not because I learned it through sales, is because I learned it in copywriting. My first like entry into learning business online was copywriting first. I paid $1,000 a month for one-on-one copywriting mentor, and he taught me all the structures on pitching and stuff. So that was really helpful, and it ties into sales. Also, a lot of my dating experience helped with sales, like teaching dating. A lot of the same principles apply in sales, so they translate over. That's really good stuff. Also, I wanted to ask you just about the guys we have inside and like the crew of people we have. Just what your experience has been there. I'm sure it's positive, but I just want to hear from you, because I know a lot of people, especially some of the recent demo calls I've had for Pro, are curious about communities. I know there's a lot of really big communities out there, like people, 500 plus people inside of a community. Ours is very intimate and small. I think there's pros and cons to both, to be honest. I think some people really want a massive community, want a small community. Can you give me like your objective thoughts on the crew of people that we have in who kind of rolls with us now? Since we've been at this, I think we've been running the program 6 months now. What is your thoughts on just the crew of people we have? What are some of the strengths, I guess? If there's things that maybe even weaknesses, like things that maybe you tell some people, hey, if you're looking for this, that's not in Pro in terms of community and stuff like that. But tell me what your experience has been there, being a foundational member of the community and the group of like killers that we have now. What's it been like?
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's a tight knit brotherhood. We have
and sisterhood,
girls in there and sisterhood for sure. But all the people in there, man, they're hungry, right? And the way they show up to the calls and the way that we train, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say if that can be found out there, right? And obviously, you as a leader, as a mentor, hold us to a higher standard as well. Like even when we're making good money, we're closing, you're still pushing us above and beyond where we need to be. And like this is what you can achieve. You're still here, cool. Let's build up. Let's keep going. And then the sharing the wins, man. Even when we put our wins into the group, the way that everybody reacts, right? It's like cool. We keep motivating each other, keep pushing each other, and then holding each other accountable. So there was times, man, when I was like, there's slumps in sales, right? It's quite an emotional roller coaster. But that's when other people poured into me and I was able to pour into them. And I think that going in addition to obviously what you're learning is super important, because you have to have people in your boat that are on the same journey as you, right? Whether people are just starting off in the sales space, which is great. People, maybe you're on an offer and you want to crush it and you want to bring in more cash, cool. And then who do you want to be in your corner at that point in time? It's the same people that are on the same mission and purpose as you. people wanting to crush it with sales, bring in more freedom, bring in more cash for themselves and their loved ones, and being put in a group that does that in such an efficient way, showing up day after day, week after week, role playing, call reviews. It's just like all those fundamentals are there set up perfectly, right? And then you have accessibility to you. I can send anything to you anytime, and you answer it. With the bigger groups and the bigger training platforms out there, it's hard to say if you're going to get that. And since like this is something that you're fully committed to, even day after day, you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into building this in the right way. You're getting your guys' results. You're getting them on offers, and then helping them crush it. I think this is a proof in the pudding. Like if I'm talking on here and obviously doing other case studies, this is not just fluff. This is actually science behind the fact that this actually works.
Sure. Huge. Yeah. And I love the community aspect too. Just knowing that we have a group of guys that are all supporting each other. Like I'm surprised sometimes, like today, who was it? Jabari told me that you were helping him work on some pitch stuff, or like looked at one of his calls. I was shocked. I'm not paying you to do that. You have invested to be in our program, so you don't need to do that, right? But just and I know Amon helps people. Jabari's helped others. Colin jumps in, like just having that tight knit group of people that are all there supporting each other. And it's small. I don't know how long it'll be small, because eventually we'll build it and scale it. But for now, while it's in its infancy and its beginning stage, I love the tight knit group. And the last thing I want to go into, bro, is just you and what's next for you, man. You've come to a great place in this journey. I know there's way more to do. Like you're at 10K, you're pushing, you're having on track to have a 6-figure year, more than just 100, that 120 plus mark. What's next for you, and where do you take the skill set? Like what are you going to build from now? I'm sure there's a lot more sales in your journey, and this is where you've chosen to plant your flag. But tell me about what does Sati's journey look like now that I think you can confidently say you've gotten this skill set to a version of mastery at a high level. What comes next for you, and where do you go from here?
This is something I've been pondering upon and contemplating, and actually even executing on now. It's coaching and consulting. So, interesting thing about sales is like when I do hop on, with calls with guys, even in quantum, now found it just enjoyable to sit back and watch and critique, because I've been through the fire numerous times. Whether it would be on the post sessions or even on my calls when I'm watching back. So now I'm in a position where I can use this skill set to, obviously help others achieve what I have achieved here. Obviously through coaching and consulting and helping them build a vicious skill set so they can also achieve the results that I have here. So with me, obviously setting up an offer around helping others within the sales space. And I think it's going to be a beautiful journey. Obviously leveraging your time away from money is a huge thing.
For sure.
I love taking sales calls. Like this is something that's going to be a core pillar of what I do for the foreseeable future, but also just having a platform of myself or my own where I can actually help other people do what I've done here and just pour into them. Because I think that's the most rewarding thing is like when you've built a level of mastery, what do you do then? Each others. You coach them, you hold them accountable, you hold their hands so that they can crush it too. And I think that's the direction that inevitably I'm going to move towards, is the coaching and consulting space, as I'm already doing to a certain extent now. For
sure. Yeah. And I assume you're going to keep smashing it on these offers. Like, I mean, part of it, of course, is on them to keep the calendar filled to keep. And that's why I tell closers, like, skill set's important. And once you have that, you want to be on offers where the calendar is filled with this volume. That's a huge part of it. But I'm excited to see what you do, man, where you run. Any piece of advice to people breaking into sales now, into remote sales? Is there opportunity available, or is the whole industry a sham? Like, what's going on? If you're a new person coming into remote sales, what can you expect, and where's the direction? Where should we go from Zen, Stoic, Sati? What's the advice? I'm going to quote this and turn it into a tweet. Okay.
It's tough, but that's why you got to invest in your skill set. Yeah, you can be a 15, 20, 25% closer. You're not going to stand out. Not in the way the high ticket space is flooding right now, and the way it's going to be, frankly, for the foreseeable future, is how are you going to stand out? And that's the only one way you're going to be able to do that, is investing in your skill set. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh yeah, this sounds all cool, and You know, I wouldn't mind living a life like that. Number one thing you got to do is invest in yourself. That's the only thing that I could recommend. If you build a skill set, you get it on a circle of killers that are on offers where you're presented offers that you're not going to find in the market. Why not invest in yourself? And it's the same thing. It draws upon what I mentioned earlier in the call. If you're on this call, if you're on a sales call and you're getting someone to invest thousands of dollars in their future, but you haven't invested in yourself, it's silly to be in that position. So I'm a big advocate to learn from people that already have the results that you want. You don't have to carve your own path here. You know, you just do what someone else has been doing to get the success they have, and just follow that. Walk that blueprint. Walk that map that's been laid out. Get really, really, really good at sales. Get on an offer, and then the rest is history. It's just putting in the volume, putting in the reps, and you're gonna start bringing in cash. But you have to stand out from the people that are flooding into this industry, and the only way to do that is by investing in yourself and building a skill set out.
Huge. That's it, bro. Amazing. Where can people reach you and look at your stuff? I know you have IG. Is there anywhere people should look at you, follow you outside of that? Or
yeah, IG is the best. So DM me there if you have any questions. I'll also send over my YouTube. This is Sati Speaks. I'll be uploading a lot more content now to
yeah, you got to
share.
start putting volume up there, man.
Yeah.
You got
So
some good ideas.
Yeah. And creating content, putting a message out there, and just propelling the vehicle forward. Because we always talk about this is just the beginning of I'm just laying the brick by brick of an empire. So, and this not just for me, obviously, there's gonna be other people in the game, with people I meet and people I network with. So just hit me up on IG if you have any questions, and we'll rock and roll.
For sure. Good to talk to you, brother. Good to have you here and good to be training with you. We'll keep pushing forward, keep making that money.